Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind. Welcome back, everybody. We had a little spring break.
Yes.
And we finally resurfaced.
We're back again.
Yep. And in dramatic fashion. And we're going to drink 903 Brewers from Texas, which we sampled during...
We did.
Was it the beer mostly or was it food pairing?
No, it was food pairing. And I had never drank them before.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
because they were the Girl Scout cookie pairing one. Yeah.
Or Samoas.
So yeah, so yeah.
So we're going to head back to them because that was impressive. That tasted like Girl Scout cookies. So I don't see why we wouldn't give them another go. Mm-hmm. And we're going to start with their, you told me, Frosted Animal Cookie, which is another cookie beer.
I know, that's true. I didn't even think about that, but yes. So it's a buttercream and cookie flavored stout, which I'm fascinated by.
Ooh, it's a stout too.
It pairs with hummingbird cake, spiced lamb, and nature documentaries.
So that's an interesting combination of things.
Yeah, so we're going to give it a try. And again, I haven't drank either of these beers because the only beer I've ever had from them was the one we tried a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's give this a try.
Yeah.
I actually like the Frosted Animal Cookies. I haven't had those in forever.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
when you said that was
time.
what we were drinking, I was like, ooh, Frosted Animal Cookies.
I didn't actually realize it was a stout, but I could totally see that. All right.
Yeah.
It smells amazing. I really love it.
It does smell good.
It smells like cookies.
It's got a good head on it, too.
It does. I'm kind of excited. All right. It's got a sweetness to it. It almost has a little bit of a shortbread taste to it.
I was going to say it's almost a little nutty. Not like, you know what I mean?
That.
It's not like peanut or anything.
No.
It's just got a little bit of that like nutty flavor.
Yeah, like I could see that.
Yeah.
And sometimes shortbread has the like combination of bread, cake, nut, like weird consistency.
Right.
But definitely.
But I'm getting a lot of the little frosted cookie on the aftertaste here now, too. So now that I've had a drink,
I can
kind
see
of
it.
breathed it in a little bit. I definitely get this animal cookie.
I could totally see the like little sweetness from like the frosting-y and the like, more savory of a cookie type flavor. It's a good combination.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would guess frosted animal cookie because it's kind of a weird thing to think
I'm trying to place it like what would I call
it
this?
Definitely has the sweetness and the, kind of the complex flavoring that it's got a lot going on, but it's a really good blend of things. It's very smooth and it definitely is a really good taste, I think.
Yeah. I like it. This is good. Yet
I think it smells like cookie to me.
It does.
Like that's where
yeah.
The aroma smells like shortbread
Maybe that's
cookie.
why I got it on the aftertaste a little bit because I like breathed it out.
Yeah. And
breathing it in and out, I'm getting that sugary, sweet cookie.
That like shortbread cookie is what this smells like to me for sure. And it's got more sweetness on the taste. So fascinating. I don't know. I like it. All right. 903 is doing pretty good.
Yeah. Tell me about 903.
Yeah. So they're out of Texas, Sherman, Texas, which is a small town not far from Oklahoma, actually. 903 Brewers is owned by a husband and wife, Jeremy and Natalie. Jeremy is also the brewer, so he started home brewing. Not a big shock. Like many craft breweries begin with. So they kind of started setting the stage for the idea of opening a brewery. I guess they went and visited on a trip and saw some big breweries, and Jeremy left and went home and bought all the home brewing equipment that he could. So he started brewing at home, and then after a few years of brewing at home, they wound up opening 903 Brewers in 2013. One of their first brews was a toasted coconut ale called The Chosen One.
Okay.
They had a lot of support from their church, so they are they are a Christian kind of backed brewery. Texas, not super surprising. And yeah, so they've won a number of different awards. In 2015, their Sasquatch Chocolate Milk Stout took a silver at the Great American Beer Festival.
Okay.
They've also won at the Great American Beer Festival for their Scotch ale. So they've been recognized. They only distributed kind of in their area for quite a while, and I think within the last couple of years started distributing widely. So we can get it here because I got this at just my local bottle shop. So 903 is the area code in the northeast part of Texas that includes Sherman. So that's where the 903 comes from.
We're familiar with that idea up here in the Chicagoland.
Yes. Definitely. The area codes wind up having some either names of beers or other things. So this is representative of the area that they are in. So they've had a number of they wanted to expand. They bought a old schoolhouse building.
Oh, okay.
Pre-pandemic. It was an old schoolhouse built in 1913. They set up a Facebook page to talk about their progress, et cetera, et cetera. Then it just suddenly stopped. So this was pre-pandemic that it actually stopped. So I'm not sure if they hit roadblocks. There isn't really a lot about it. But so they've remained in their same location that they've opened since they opened in 2013. And in 2021-ish, they bought 5 acres of land in a separate area.
Okay.
And they broke ground to build a new state-of-the-art, multi-million-dollar, multi-level event space, brewery, etc. And then the city said, whoa, this big tech company called Globotech wants your 5 acres of land back. So they sold their 5 acres of land back to the city with the agreement that the city would cover any money spent for this transaction and would sell them 10 acres across the street in a different location. So they so it worked out in the end, but there was a lot of drama back and forth about where they can expand to, because they've been doing very well and distributing and whatnot, and they wanted to expand pre-pandemic, and then they wanted to expand post-pandemic, and now they are officially going to expand, but they have to start over. So that will be the next plan, is to work through building their new location in their new spot.
Well, that sounds very dramatic.
So more things to come, big things to come. They've been doing well. Like I said, they've recently expanded their distribution lines, and where they're going to, they've mostly done locally. But so if you're ever in the Sherman, Texas area, I would definitely give them a try. I have not been down to that area, but if I do, I will definitely give it a shot. And hopefully they'll have a new location by the time that happens.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, hopefully you can find it where you live.
Yeah, you can find it at your bottle shop. So anyway, that's a little bit about 903 Brewers. They've had some ups and downs, it feels like. It seems like they're back on track, and hopefully we'll be expanding soon, and we'll see more stuff from them in the upcoming future. So
cool. Yeah. That's awesome. And, so far they're 2 for 2, so I can't really complain about them at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I mentioned the word a couple of times already, but we're going to talk about drama. We've talked about drama in roundabout ways many times on the podcast, but not specifically how we deal with drama and how our kids deal with drama, or how we deal with our kids being dramatic, which are all things that I would like to touch on.
That sounds great. Yeah, I don't think I was very good at dealing with drama as a child, so I think that we need to help our children do better at that, in my experience at least.
So I tried to think about how I experienced or my perspective on drama as a child, or just growing up in general, even if I was a little bit older, like high school age.
Sure.
And I think that the thing that came to mind for me was that I would deal occasionally, and I'm not going to name names, but I would occasionally run into the dramatic relative. And I usually just found the whole thing exhausting and not worth my attention. And I think that that's a big reason people create drama in the first place is for attention.
Yes.
And I think that as a result, I have developed a very low patience for that sort of thing. And growing up, I felt the way that I basically feel now, which is where I just avoid it.
Yeah.
I remember on several occasions in high school where I literally fled from conflict, like ran away.
Actually,
Sometimes
physically ran.
There were fights. I went to high school.
Well,
there were fights in high school. That's how high school kids are.
Yep.
And I would physically get out of the area.
Yeah. That's
And, I had my share of female friends that didn't work out. And
Yeah.
I got a mean note from a girl in high school whose name rhymes with matey, and she had some issues with me and wrote it all down and shared it with me one day. And I just reacted by being very upset.
Which is fair and also reasonable for the age. I will say that as a person, though, I think that writing things down is great for me to get things out. But being the recipient of that, probably almost not necessary.
Yeah, I will say, not to get dramatic about it, that it was just kind of a list of things she didn't like about me. And if I'm being honest, the entire list was just her thinking that I was a selfish person.
Okay.
Kind of worded differently.
Sure.
11 or 12 different times. It was a long
She
note.
busted out the thesaurus.
Yeah.
And how many different ways can I
was
say
like,
this?
I don't like this thing when we play softball together, and I don't like when you said this thing about vacation. And I'm like, oh,
Okay.
as an adult, I can tell you that I think that she just thought she was accusing me of being selfish, and I think she just didn't like me. And,
Yeah,
it's whatever.
as children, it's it's a little You take things differently and also more to heart. I definitely took things more to heart as a kid than I do now.
Yeah.
Now I'm much less concerned about people not liking me than I was.
If a person in her
child.
position were to approach me today as what I would have considered basically just a classmate, so like an acquaintance,
Not a close friend, yeah.
and they were just sort of like, I don't really like hanging out with you, I would just be like, okay,
Then don't hang
I guess
out with
that's
me.
fine. We just won't hang out. I appreciate you telling me so that I don't try to hang out with you.
That's fair, actually. That's how you should approach that. Just no, I'm good.
Yeah, pass. And I'll touch on some other, while I was younger, experiences. I had a couple other friends that I had conflict with where it was confrontation. So like not just like I stopped being friends with someone.
Sure.
But where an actual confrontation
Okay, yeah.
happened. And most of those occasions I sort of just avoided it.
Honestly, that's for the best. But yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head earlier, though, with people that create or are dramatic is often just to bring attention to themselves in some way, shape, or form. And that's often, as an adult, I realized, because they weren't getting attention any other way.
Yeah. And I think
So-
when you're younger, when you're kids, something is going on.
Yes.
That is causing you to place this anger on somebody.
Yeah, it's just mystery. You're projecting it to somebody else.
And sometimes it's not them, and sometimes maybe they did do something that just kind of set you off.
Sure.
And I think when you're young, you allow those things to overtake you, and these situations happen. I will say, as I got more experience with confrontation, I was less apt to flee. And
Oh, yeah.
did have occasions where I was friends with a girl in college, and we had a bit of a confrontation. Not you.
I would guess not.
It's not you. None of them are you, Lauren.
I mean, we're here. So.
Yeah. I didn't run away. You probably wouldn't be sitting here with me if I did. And I sort of met that confrontation a little bit and sort of voiced some of my issues at the same time. And I will say it did not fix our friendship.
Well, then that friendship wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. So in spite of the fact that I thought airing some of my grievances at a time where I was sort of backed into a corner did not help the situation.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
I didn't learn that I was handling things poorly in the past. I sort of learned, this isn't really going to help.
Gotcha.
And
That's fair.
I went back into my little cave of quiet
Gonna
and
avoid.
avoided drama in the future. I don't. I feel even more strongly about avoiding drama now than I did younger. I think that there were times when I was younger where if I did, like, let's say you were upset with me and I was concerned, I would spend more time like worrying about that and feeling anxious about that and trying to process how to handle that situation than I would now. If you were upset with me right now, first of all, you're a very good friend, so I
I'd
assume
probably
you would
be
just
like,
tell me.
Hey, you did this thing.
But if I recognized that you seemed on edge or irritated with me, I would just say, hey, I don't want you to be upset.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's upsetting you because I want us to be getting along.
And that's such the hell. It's interesting. I feel like I am similar to you in some cases that I tend to avoid drama from people that I think will remain in my life for some way, shape, or form. So they are coworkers or friends of or family or someone that I will probably have to interact with in the future. If there's some sort of drama, I will often just remove myself temporarily from whatever that is, whether
To
that
let
be
the situation cool.
whether that be a particular event or whether that be knowing they're going to be at things and just avoid those for a period of time.
Yeah, sure.
Now, people that I don't care about, I'm all about confrontation. So it completely depends on who they are and whether I care about hurting their feelings.
This is an important point for me to mention that these are the people that I am attracted to when it comes to friendships, by the way, because while I will go out of my way to avoid any sort of confrontation at all, some of my best friends are people who are like, oh, did you want to fight?
Yeah, that's me.
Because
Over
I will
here.
fight you. And I am just that person standing behind you, like pointing at you, but way behind you. And
It works.
I
It's
learned
fine,
that about
yes.
myself recently. Like, it took me a very long time to realize that I am attracted to people that want to set things on fire sometimes, if the moment calls
Yes,
for it.
yes.
And I am the person that's like, no, why are we messing with fire? And my
Sometimes
friends,
you need fire.
sometimes a little bit of fire just like cleanses.
Yes.
Sometimes
yes.
you got to do a controlled burn.
Exactly.
But I
There
do
you
not
go.
do that. I have
That's
people
why
that
you
do
have
that.
us.
Yeah.
So that is my take on this, whether I will react in one way or another. And I've definitely made mistakes on being too confrontational at times in my life. I feel like I've learned better as I've gotten older. I will say that for the most part, when I was a child or even into high school and somewhat college and whatnot, I didn't have many confrontations with people.
Right.
I do feel that sometimes, or my husband will tell me, some people are afraid of me, so they don't want to
Yes.
confront me.
I have heard that as well. I have not. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know that I've ever felt afraid of you in the tenure of our relationship, but I have gotten that sense from people you and I have interacted
Yes.
with, where there have been the occasional person that I'm sort of like, oh, he's going to stop talking now because he's going to say something and she is going to freak out.
So I don't know what it is specifically about me, but
I don't know.
people rarely confront me, so I rarely have to react.
That's not
So.
necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, I am attracted to the people that have a little bit of that air about them.
Yes.
A little bit of that come at me, bro. Just come at me.
I've definitely gone through phases in my life that I've had, perhaps some anger issues, but I control them. And then there's other people that I just, there's only a handful of people, friends, that I considered actual friends, not just like acquaintances, that we did not even necessarily have confrontations, but we, for whatever reason, stop being friends. One person in particular was incredibly dramatic and is still apparently incredibly dramatic. I have no contact with her.
I've heard stories about this person. I
but
already know who you're talking
just
about.
incredibly dramatic. And that was more of a, this person, you cannot reason with some people. Like, I often try and be logical as my first, first line of defense is, let's talk this through and explain why you're an idiot. In a
don't say
nicer
that
way.
word. Just like, but
in a nicer way. And this person is not someone who you can do that with.
There's no rational conversation
whatsoever.
Yeah.
She's completely irrational. So that friendship never
was never
reignited
gonna,
at all. And then there's some other people that I've just drifted apart because of circumstance or where we are in our lives. But I've only literally had like that kind of a dramatic fallout with like one. I'm sure there may be a couple more in my life, but not many. So I'm thankful for that.
That's good.
I will say that my daughter must have a similar thought process on things, because she will come home and I'll be like, oh, how was she only sits with a couple of people at lunch and she plays with different people at recess and whatnot. And at first I was like, hey, I'm kind of worried that she doesn't have a lot of friends. But then she'll come home and she'll be like, oh my God, and I'll use different names, but she's like, Veronica was so dramatic today. She just cries at everything and I just can't handle that. So I'm just not going to talk to her.
She sounds exactly like
and
you.
I was like, that's totally fine. You don't have to. And then the next day it's like, so-and-so cried every time she got tagged in tag. Mommy, why would she ask to play tag if she was going to cry? And I was like, I don't know, sweetheart.
That's a logical question.
I don't think she should play if she's going to cry every time. So she'll come home and be like, these girls are so dramatic. And she'll be the one to use that exact word. Like, I can't handle how dramatic they are. And I was like, then you don't have to hang out with them. Like,
right.
It's okay. And I said to her, I'm like, I only had a handful of friends in elementary school. And that was fine. Like, you don't have to be friends with 15 different girls. Like, not necessary.
Seems like a lot.
I don't have the patience for that now, and I didn't have the patience for that then.
Yeah.
Like, we were, we were going to an event the other day, and I'm going through my list of, like, who could I invite? And I'm talking to my husband, and I'm like, I only have, like, 5 friends. Like, that's it. Like,
well, and honestly,
I don't have anybody else.
I included my brother, and it was because I got the email while I was at work, and I read it, and I went, oh, we got invited to go do this thing. I'm going to ask Mike if he can go. And my brother went, you could ask your brother if he wants to go. And I was like,
does my brother want to
I'm like
go?
looking at my... Let me get back to you.
My husband's first, and then
yes, of
but
course.
literally,
I
was like, me and Brandon were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't have many friends," and I was like, "I have like a handful, and that's it." Like that, I would genuinely want to spend time with and be able to hang out with for an evening,
right,
and enjoy it.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm okay not having that many.
I think that's when drama becomes such a low priority for you that's how you end up in the place that you are, is that you reach the point where the people that you are friends with are the ones that feel the same way about drama as you do, or handle it the way you do, or handle it in a way that's compatible with you.
Yes.
And whatever one of those things it is, you guys, end up getting along in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely
You and I do not
agree.
have conflict because I don't really think we disagree on many things.
No, and even if we did, like... We are not people, the people that I often have conflict with, this came up the other day because my husband got an invitation to a party of something, and there was an RSVP to somebody that I have no idea, and I was like, oh, well, I blocked the wife forever ago to this party we were invited to, so I can't see if this person is friends with them because she drove me crazy. And it's not even she's not a nice person. It's she thinks her opinion is fact.
Oof.
Even if there are many factual sources that show that her opinion is not a fact. So she is one of those people that you cannot logic with. And I was like, I can't deal with those people.
That's
so
kind
I
of
just
exhausting.
My husband's like,
That's
you are
drama.
really good at blocking people on social media. I'm like, I am.
Yeah, I am
because
too.
I've
gotten really good at that.
Seeing and then I read something and I'm like, you're an idiot. And then I just block them so that if I do run into them in real life, I don't have that reminder of, oh, you're an idiot.
Right.
So yeah, my block game is strong.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's actually another that's another step in the process that we've reached where we interact with social media. Mm-hmm. We're getting older. We still are using these social media platforms. Yeah. And we've learned how to use them in a way that makes them enjoyable for us. And for me, that's unfollowing or blocking people that I can't read their posts every single day about things
ridiculousness,
that are nonsense.
That in those things I will avoid. Also, I have to avoid conflict with wives of who my husband works with. I love the firehouse. I love the fire department family. I get along with a bunch of wives, but there is a subset of fire department wives who are stay-at-home moms who don't keep up with current events or science or anything factual, and they're just in this little bubble eating bonbons and like reading Cosmopolitan. And those are the people I can't.
I didn't even know that world still existed.
I don't know if it's the same, but it's like, you know, they're going to go get their Starbucks and whatever, look at TikTok all day is the equivalent, I guess, now, pretty much. Mm-hmm. But I can't do it with them.
Yeah.
But I have to be civil. So those are the people I avoid instead of confronting.
Well, you know, but that comes down to, I think, in a lot of ways, connection. You know, you just don't have a connection with them.
Yes.
And you can be pleasant, but you're not going to connect on something because you're not going to then come across the common ground because there probably isn't any.
Yeah, very, very limited, if anything. My husband does say that I am really... See, it's a mix. I am really bad. He says I'm really bad at pretending to like people I don't like. Like I don't put on an air of like... You
don't kill people with kindness or anything like that?
I don't do that. If I don't like you, like you're probably going to know I don't like you. I am capable of faking it. It's just whether I choose to put forth the energy to fake it or not. And most of the time I don't. Like if I don't like you, I'm not going to really put forth the energy to pretend.
Well, that's okay.
I do.
Know. We only have so many years on this earth. I mean, how many of those years do you want to spend pretending to be nice?
I don't really like pretending. I've never been that kind of a person. But yeah, so anyway, so the drama, I try and avoid a lot of it, or if it warrants confrontation, then I confront. But I do think my daughter at this point is of the I don't like the drama. And I feel like at our kids' age, there is two different realms. People, especially girls.
Yeah.
Either
I hate to do that, but you're
dramatic,
right.
Or they're like, I'm going to hang out with all the boys because the girls drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And that's which makes sense too, because she has two boys at home, her brothers. But yeah, she's definitely not one of the dramatic girls. But some of her friends very much are.
Yeah. Well, and I hear that story a lot from parents who have daughters. And so I have two boys, so I don't get a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I will say that I do interacting even with my own children. Mm-hmm. They're children, so they're going to be dramatic sometimes. They always are. And I try to emulate the behavior that I would want them to show if they were dealing with someone being dramatic.
That's fair.
So, for example, my son, yesterday was Easter. My family came over, and my one son just decided that he didn't want to eat dinner and would rather sit in a chair in the other room and sulk.
Okay, well, that's your choice.
And I went over and was like, it's time for dinner. And he was like, I don't want to eat what we're having for dinner. And I was like, we're having ham. Like, everybody eats ham who doesn't eat ham.
Fair.
I was like, we're having ham and rolls and like really
you can eat some bread and some
simple
ham, kid.
Food.
Like
you know,
you're not
have
eating,
a little bit because it's, you know, because we're not going to have a big meal after this. You know, this is kind of it for the day. Yeah. And he was just like, I don't want to. And he just like sat in his chair, and I went back to the table and I started eating my dinner. And my mom was just like, oh, is he all right? What's wrong? Is he okay? And I was like, I don't know. Just go talk to him if you want to talk to him.
He's being difficult.
Because I don't want to give any more attention to that.
Yeah.
Because I think that if I overreact to him being dramatic, there wasn't anything wrong. Yeah, he just wasn't hungry and he didn't want to sit at the table, so he was going to be grumpy about it.
Yeah.
And if I overreact to that, then this behavior becomes a pattern.
Oh,
and I don't want to deal with that.
we had this conversation over spring break, actually. So I was with my godparents out in Arizona, and my parents and our family, and my godmother works a lot in education, and she was talking about this woman who, she's a behavior psychologist, and I don't know who she is, but I guess she's published, and she does a lot of speaking engagements and stuff.
Okay.
And she said, which I'm not sure if I agree with an autistic kid, but in general, all behavior is learned, which means all behaviors can be learned or unlearned.
Okay.
And as a parent, if you continue reacting in the same way to something your child does, they're going to continue doing that to get what they want. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, that's generally basic parenting. If they're going to scream and they always get something when they scream, they're going to continue screaming until they get something.
Right.
So if you let them do their thing and you don't react, overly to it, then they probably aren't getting what they want from you. And they may try a different tactic, or they may give up, or they may just, get bored with it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, even when they're little, they always tell you to not overreact to when they, fall down. Mm-hmm. So, your kid falls in a relatively safe manner and they're 2 years old. If you run over screaming and you hold them like a baby and you give them a cookie every time, they're going to do that every single time they fall down, even when they're perfectly fine.
Yeah, and they're not bleeding. There's nothing broken. They're fine. But, I fell. Mommy's going to come running and comfort me in this and that and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, I comfort my children when something's wrong.
Of course,
but behavior is learned, and I do agree with that. But I also think that being dramatic somewhat is learned as well, because as my daughter gets a little bit older, I see her friends interact with their parents, and when a couple of them are overly dramatic and still whine at 9 years old and still, flop on the ground and whatnot, they get what they want. And so they're going to continue to be dramatic because they're going to get what they want. The problem then becomes them thinking that other people outside of their parents will do the same. And that's where I think the continued drama comes from in school and as they get older and as they get to the age where they're dating or different things, because they think that I'm going to be dramatic and everyone is going to give me what I want if I'm dramatic.
Yeah.
And you see some of those people, even as they get older, continue to act that way. And they inevitably find someone who will acquiesce them.
Well, and you're totally right. There's always somebody that's going to engage with you if you're going to be like that.
Somebody. They find somebody.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, but they find someone.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I have a hard time with. So, those are the people that you're like, please don't let my son date them when he gets older. I can't. We're not there yet. But.
Sometimes I passively think about that sort of thing. Like, the kids that my kids are around now, if they were hypothetically around these people in high school age or older, do I like them?
Yeah.
Do I like their parents?
Do I want them?
Do I want to be around their family? And I'll give that some thought.
Yeah. I have, one of my kids has a friend who their parent, I am not friends with on social media, but I see because we are in similar groups for our neighborhood and our district and our village and things. And she is dramatic.
Yeah.
Overly dramatic on social media. And that makes me question whether I want my kid hanging out with them because of their parents' actions. I'm like, I don't really like that, the way that they are acting. So what does that mean for how they raise their kid and what they accept as acceptable behavior and those things? And my kids, we're probably one of the most drama-free households that we can be. I mean, all of, especially the twins are very much avoidance of drama. At this age, at least. Who knows? Things could change. But so I question, okay, this person is seriously a drama queen. I don't know how I feel about that.
Right.
So as they get older and as I interact with their friends and their friends' parents, that's something I kind of look for. Are we all compatible?
Your kids, children are a reflection of their parents.
100%. Yes.
If your kid's friend is acting like an idiot, there's a reason
Yes.
You know, you reach a point, especially we're talking about 9-year-olds and older. When you're that age, somebody made you.
Somebody molded
the way
you into
are,
the way you are.
In a lot of ways.
You are very much a reflection of the people. And it's not just your parents, but your family and, people that you're close with. My kids spend a lot of time with my parents or their godparents or other people. So being around authority figures and adults, they pick up how they act. And that's how kids learn, is modeling after all the adults that are around them. So I definitely question when the adults are dramatic, how that's going to rub off on the children.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I don't I feel like in 5 years we'll have to have this conversation again as our kids get older.
I think that's probably a good idea.
See what happens. But until then, we're going to drink this Lonely Hearts Beer Club Reserve Series Stout. It's a high ABV, 12%, pairs with chocolate cupcakes, grilled venison, and listening to the Beatles, hence Lonely Hearts. So that makes sense. So we'll give this one a shot. There's a whole bunch of miscellaneous pictures on the front of this can. I'm making a mess.
Tall, skinny can.
Yeah,
not a good feat of engineering.
Tall, skinny can.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just behind you over there if you want to grab. See that roll there? On the freezer.
Not yet.
We're in my basement, and it's a bit of an obstacle course. I'm going to hand this back to you because you can wipe it a little bit, if you don't mind.
You'll do. Sorry, I'm making a mess.
You guys got to witness a spill on air. Yay!
All right, let's give this a shot.
Smell it.
Not as much
what is
head.
What is my flavoring here? I'm sorry.
It's a great question. Stout aged on brandy-soaked cherry and almonds.
Cherry, yeah. Okay, that's what it is. I thought fruity and initial. I thought maybe like a pineapple like or something.
Dark chocolate, dark fruit type. Oh, I smell dark fruit for sure.
Yeah.
Bourbon has a lot of dark fruits. I feel
taste almond. But I smell cherry.
I don't get as much dark chocolate as I expected.
No.
Cherry I get. And the aftertaste, I actually get the cherry too. The cherry, the almond. It almost tastes a little more like almond extract though to me.
Yeah.
Than it does like almond, which is fair. I get it.
Not uncommon. You get a lot of that in beer, especially depending on the size of the batch,
Yeah, I could totally get that, but I definitely get the nutty flavor and the dark fruit flavor I get. I'm kind of happy it's not as dark chocolatey. I don't love the tartness of dark chocolate, honestly.
Sure. Yeah.
So this to me is a little bit milder than I expected, which I actually like. But definitely the cherry and the nuts I'm tasting. I think it's that aged in the brandy soaked cherries, you get a little bit of that extra sweetness from the brandy, I would think.
That's probably the case, yeah. I don't love this flavor combination. Okay. And I never as we have said many times before, it is not about whether or not we like the beer. Yeah. Personally, it's about whether it's a good representation of the flavors.
Yeah, what they're trying
to put it together well. We have obviously said in the past there have been beers where we've tried where we're like, whoa, this is way too much this, or this is way too much that. I don't feel that way about this beer specifically. It's not overwhelming. Yeah. I don't know if cherry and almond and even a little bit of the brandy, I think it's maybe just a bit too sweet for me in a stout. Stouts, I'm, and this is not what this is, but I am a Russian Imperial Stout kind of girl, so I really like roasty most of the time.
Okay, this is not roasty at all.
And I don't expect all my stouts to be that way. Of course not. I can show you my Keyser with Thundertaker in it, which is not a Russian Imperial Stout and is one of my favorite beers in the entire world.
So you branch out, yes.
However, this is just it's just like a little too sweet for me.
I think if this was aged in bourbon barrels, or if it had a little bit different of a
or like
finish,
a rye, maybe,
then it wouldn't be as sweet. I like this beer, but it is very sweet. This is like a dessert beer to me. So this would be I could pour this over ice cream and this is a very desserty, almost pastry stout taste to me. And I don't know if that's what they're going for. It doesn't say anything about that, but this feels like a pastry stout to me. So it gives that extra sweetness. A good description
of what we're
I definitely feel like the brandy soaked cherries, that comes out to me a lot, which has a lot of sweetness. Yeah. In my opinion. So if you like that, then this might be for you.
I bet you Mike will love it. Yeah. So he'll enjoy this. He does get cherry stuff on occasion. I am hit or miss with things that have cherry in them.
And this is a sweet cherry, not a tart cherry. Yeah. So that's the other thing, is that some beers have more of a tartness to it. Mm-hmm. This is definitely that sweet cherry pie type cherry to it. So there's, you got to expect that. So, I mean, it is, you definitely taste the cherry and the nuttiness and whatnot, but I'm sure it is an acquired taste, but it's pretty good. It's just a little sweet. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, 903, I would still definitely give them a shot, though. All of the beers we've had from them have really been spot on in their descriptions. And they've also, whether you like the sweetness or not, they're very smooth. They don't put too many adjuncts. Sometimes there's all these things and you can't pick out the flavors.
Totally.
I feel like you've been able to really pick out the distinct flavors in all the beers we've had
Absolutely.
from them. So,
and you definitely aren't getting hit over the head by anything.
No, it's not
exactly what you said.
Overwhelming, and you're like, oh, it's too much. It's just, if it's not for you, it's not for you, which is totally cool. Mm-hmm. But I do think they've done a good job of making what they've set out to try and make.
Absolutely.
So I will definitely give them a shot again I see them around the area.
Yeah,
so, cool.
That sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week, and cheers to you all.